another show of Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Momentarily, you'll see our good buddy Jess Settles joining us on the show. Jess, of course, as you know, former Hawkeye basketball playing great, Iowa farmer, broadcaster for the Fox networks, Big Ten Network, ESPN, all over the map during basketball season. Jess and I are going to talk Hawkeye men's basketball, obviously, to start the show today. And then we're going to talk Hawkeye women basketball in the middle of the show and then close out the show with Jess's memories of that last Sweet 16 season. You've heard Jess and I talk about this over the last 6 years on TV, but over multiple years on radio before then. We've had Kent McCausland on, one of Jess's teammates from that team, J.R. Koch, Cooper Koch's dad, and one of Jess's teammates from that team, also Ryan Lursman. So we've had quite a few 1999 guys on this show. So Jess, first and foremost, as always, thanks for joining us. Always great to see you and talk with you. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. What a special 48 hours here, and just so proud of the kids, the way that they played. I mean, that game came down to the wire, and felt like we outplayed them at 30 out of the 40 minutes. Give Florida credit for scrapping back in it, but they got the best front line in the country, Dave, and we were even with them on the glass, and our undermanned guys went up against the big bully and took them down, and then caught a break at the end with Florida picking up full court pressure, to give us a 3-on-2. Sturts makes the unselfish pass. I mean, how many times do you see a point guard in those situations just launch a runner and try to play hero ball? He made the right play. This team goes down in history, and what a gift to get Nebraska in a game to go to the Elite Eight. I mean, that's just a remarkable scenario we have coming up tomorrow night. It was really incredible. I mean, we could spend an hour dissecting just the last couple of possessions, right? It's hard to believe that they gave us that opportunity to beat them. I think they missed a free throw. Cooper Koch was huge in that game. He hit a big three 4 or 5 minutes to go with a hand in his face. It seemed like it just surged our team. And then he's the one who had the strip late to come up with the turnover. He had a defensive rebound. And then to come out of that situation, to put a full court press on Iowa, on us, and then face guard Sturts when Coop could run the baseline was just the craziest thing I'd ever seen, because there was 9 seconds in the game. It wasn't a Christian Laettner have to throw a bomb type of play. So Coop, with the little hesitation ball fake, gets the defense shifted, then Sturts takes off high octane run and gets to do that little curl, and Coop hits him with the perfect pass. And then all of a sudden, it's like a legendary moment arises, and they gave us that opportunity. And then even at the end, they were running what's called a hammer play. And what they were trying to do, Florida, was push the length of the court, drive it baseline, and then have a screen on the backside where they kick it to the opposite corner for a three to beat us. But with only that amount of time, so many things can go wrong. So the kid, it didn't look like that he was thinking score. He was thinking pass. So he gets too deep into the baseline. Sturts slips the screen on the opposite side, and then they try to just shovel it inside, let alone their coach saying after the game on our last possession that they were going to try to foul up 2, which that can't be true. So it was just a mess for them, and we seized the moment. And, after 27 years, Dave, we needed a break. We caught a few breaks.
Minus Houston, but they've got familiarity with Nebraska and Illinois. Jess, this sets up pretty well for the Hawks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of a Big Ten regional, right? If you are Iowa, you're very fortunate for us to get Nebraska the first game, and then you're going to play against a juggernaut the second game on a short turnaround, which is advantageous to us. I mean, the better teams suffer more if they only have a day to prepare rather than a week. So the kids already know Nebraska. They know exactly what they're going to do. They've had great battles with the Cornhuskers. Nebraska, if you look at their schedule over the last month, and if you can keep them in the 50s, they lose. They are not going to win a game in the 50s. If they can get to the upper 60s, lower 70s, they typically win. So if at the end of this first half, Iowa is just grinding them out, low scoring, slow game, get really hyped up, because it's trending in our favor. You don't want to get in a shootout with Nebraska. They've got some bigs who can really shoot. That's going to be a big factor. But this Iowa team, kind of a little bit like Dick Bennett's Wisconsin teams back in the early 90s, they're just not fun to play against, right? Price wants to score 27 points and play in the low 90s and fly up and down the court. Bennett is not going to let them do that. They're going to have to earn every shot they get against us. We beat them up in Iowa City. They survived us in overtime in Lincoln. So that's going to be interesting. Now, the fascinating game, obviously, that you mentioned, Illinois and Houston, that will be a national title type of game. It will be a war. Houston's playing at home. And that's going to be tough to beat them. Illinois, Michigan, and Houston are the three best teams I've seen in person or games I've called this year.
Jess, I would ask how he's doing it, but it just shows what a coach that Ben McCollum, how great he really is.
That's very well said, Dave. I mean, you're complimenting him there. That's a compliment because they are undersized most nights. They are overachieving. And I mean, you look at it, I mean, they got a couple bad losses, right? I mean, these guys, it's at Penn State, at Maryland. With this group, you're not going to run the table. You're not going to have 10-0 runs, over the course of a season. You're just not going to put together those type of streaks. You're going to have to grind every game out, try to make them 2-possession games. You're going to be in some games. So he's done a phenomenal job. I called the Michigan game. Michigan, when healthy, is arguably the best team in the country. We almost beat them in Carver Hawkeye. But at the shoot around that afternoon, he just really reestablished the point of attack with his team. And he just felt like the guys were not being physical enough on the ball. And they were a little passive. They were a little bit on their heels for a few weeks, trying to stay out of foul trouble. And he said, he made a reference. I can't think of what it was. He made some sort of reference back to the old Detroit Pistons days to where we've got to play so hard and physical that the officials basically finally give up and you can't blow the whistle on every possession. It was sort of paraphrasing him like that. And just from that moment on, I mean, Michigan's huge. They're athletic. They're talented. I just thought in that Michigan game, they reestablished their mentality and got up in guys. And they didn't perform great at the Big Ten tournament, but they were still very physical. They completely out tough Clemson. That game I was never worried about. And then the Florida kids are tough kids. And Iowa was the tougher team. They just did. Guys were in foul trouble. It didn't matter. That's how they have to play against Nebraska. They've got to get up in those shooters and just make life miserable. We should have fresh legs. We're playing, with the adrenaline and excitement. That arena's going to be on fire, and it should be a good game for us defensively.
Amen. And Jess, Hawkeye fans are going to show up again loud and proud and make that trek from Iowa down to Texas. And it's going to be a battle because Nebraska traveled well. And they're doing historic things. They're the last team to win in their first NCAA tournament game. So they got off the schneid and kind of broke their own curse too. So a lot of that going on. So it should be a great battle. Jess, great coverage as firsthand coverage. I love this. A member of that last Sweet 16 for the Hawkeyes in 1999. And Jess, looking forward to catching up with you with two more segments. We'll talk Hawkeye women's basketball in this next segment, and then we'll close out the show talking more Hawkeye men's basketball, the 1999 Sweet 16 team. For Jess Settles, I'm Dave O'Hara. We'll be back with more Hawkeye in just a few moments.
Hawkeye is brought to you by BettorEdge, your ultimate social betting marketplace. With no VIG, you're bound to win more on every bet on BettorEdge. Founded by Hawkeye alum James Siles and proud Iowan Greg Kajewski, BettorEdge delivers an unmatched betting experience. Plus, what's not to love when they're committed to supporting charities and children's hospitals near you? Join the action now. Sign up at bettoredge.com/Hawkeye and get $10 to start winning more today. BettorEdge, where your social betting means your bets go further and you win more.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Momentarily, your still good buddy Jess Settles joining us again on screen, and Jess kind enough to join us throughout this entire show today. Jess, of course, as former Hawkeye basketball playing great, a member of that last Sweet 16 team in 1999 of the Hawkeyes. Well, that's no more because the current team is also a Sweet 16 team. So it's no longer the last Sweet 16 team now. So Jess, Iowa farmer, as well as a broadcaster for many networks covering college men's basketball, primarily with ESPN, but also the Fox networks and Big Ten network. Jess, my friend, we talk about Hawkeye men on such a high note. And the game we actually expected for a Sweet 16 victory, the Hawkeye women and Jan Jensen, bit of a letdown, to put it mildly. And I don't want to be hypercritical of the ladies because they had a hell of a season at 27-7. second in the Big Ten when nobody expected anything. But like you, I'm not into moral victories.
I'm still not sure how we lost that game. I mean, that's just a bad loss. You covered it. It's a game that you have to win. My wife and I got to know Kylie pretty well at the Final Four, the men's Final Four last year in San Antonio. She was down there supporting her boyfriend. I think it was in the 3-point contest. So we were just so excited for her and what she's meant to the program. I believe we got 20 more shots in that game. And we just couldn't hit the ones that we needed the most. I know Jan and her staff will reevaluate the last 30 seconds of regulation and those overtimes. Didn't get the shots, the execution that they wanted. And so much of the tournament is 1 and 2 possession games where you have to execute. We're really in fascinating times with the women's program because the Caitlin Clark effect is real. It's global. And the fans continue to show up and buy tickets. We're selling out Carver, which is still truly amazing. I mean, it's just so rare in the women's game. So right now, you've got about 5 or 6 women's programs that are so far ahead of everybody else. UCLA being one of them, UConn, South Carolina. They're just light years ahead, and it really comes down. I'm sure the analytics would say it just comes down to McDonald's All-Americans and 5-star players, and they're getting more of them. So we have tapped into that now. And you mentioned the girl coming in from California. I know she's been a little beat up, but it's really going to come down to, can you get 2 or 3 of the top 20 players in the country? And if you want to play in front of a sold-out arena, then you sure as heck better visit, because it's not happening very many other places. But that's a team that's got to get to the second weekend, and they'll have to reevaluate some things there. It's just a game that they will tell you just can't lose.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be nice to see McKenna Velichko in that post, a 3-4 player, primarily a 4 player coming in if she can stay healthy. As you mentioned, she had a horrendous leg injury last year and battled back in her senior year of high school, and is seemingly healthy now and on all the national and All-American and Player of the Year award teams. And so comes in as a 5-star recruit for the Hawkeyes, with Ava Hayden coming back after her spectacular sophomore season. Now she'll have 2 years left. And then, of course, Addie Deal, the much heralded freshman, going into her second year. Taylor Stremlo. They got a lot of good pieces coming back in. Chit Chat Right. So Journey Houston came out of nowhere. People were like, she might have to redshirt this year early in the season. Look what the type of season she had, stepping in for an injured Hannah Sloan in that 4 position. So they're going to have depth and talent. Your personal experience as a player, but as a broadcaster, you nailed it perfectly. This time of year, no holds barred. Everything is on the table, and it's just incredible. Unfortunately, this time against the Hawkeyes and the women's team, but it's incredible to watch a team when they get hot and they get on a roll. It's just wild to watch.
It really is, right? And it's the finality of it, the pressure of it, right? Your season is over based upon a couple shots. That's why we all love it. That's why we all dreamed about playing it. That's why, your retired farmers are going to sit in front of that TV and watch every game Thursday night. The drama, the reality television that presents itself, the legacies that are on the line, the legendary performances. Some teams just get hot, and let's be real, unless you're just a dominant team, you've got to get a little luck. And I go back to, the women's team, pretty unlucky there, right? I had several opportunities to get it done. Hannah, she had a wonderful career. Those girls just meant so much to the state and the program. And remember, they're champions. A lot of those girls were around the last few years when we were winning big, and it just takes a 5-star Caitlin to carry a team. My freshman daughter Julia, her teacher at school, let them watch the women's game on their laptops during. I mean, it's important, right? I mean, there's only so many math problems you can do in a year, but these teams and watching these kids perform, it's really inspiring, and I'm just all for it. So it was good for everybody's kids. We had 87, right? We had some of the teams, some kids who watched us in 99, and then now these guys get 26, and they'll always remember it.
And just because I'm just a few years older than you, I go back to 1980 when Steve Waite
You got 80.
The old-fashioned three-point play and
Yeah.
to go to the Final Four. Yes, there it is. You're doing it off camera. Perfect move. And Waiter hits that shot. He's an Iowa City kid. Wasn't that, great offensively, but comes in and drives the wide-open lane and gets fouled, makes the bucket, makes the free throw. Hawks win, go to the Final Four. That was cool. So the three biggest shots so far, at least in Iowa history, go, tournament-wise, Fulgaris' shot Sunday night. Kevin Gamble shot in 87, as you mentioned. And now Steve Waiters we're talking about in 1980. Unbelievable. So, yeah, as quote-unquote cursed as Hawks have been sometimes, three pretty monumental moments. So I guess that makes these moments all the sweeter. And truly, to your point, Jess, it's so appropriate. It's spring weather and spring on the calendar because hope springs eternal this time of year. And you never know. This is why it's our favorite time of the year, March Madness. Truly March Madness. Jess, let's run to a break. We'll close out this segment and come back for a final segment talking your memories from that Sweet 16 team of 1999 with you, Kent McCausland, J.R. Koch, and Ryan Lursman, and others that we've had on this program. So he is Jess Settles. I'm Dave O'Hara. We'll be back with more Hawkeye to close out the show in just a few moments.
For higher yields and greater consistency across every acre, check out Merschman Seed's Power Core Enlist Corn. Here's Lynn Williams, our General Sales Manager.
Merschman Seed's Power Core Enlist corn growers are talking about high yield potential and consistency across their acres. And that comes from brand new high yield germplasm combined with the Power Core herbicide trait package engineered to boost performance and put more bushels in your hopper at harvest.
Contact your local Merschman Seeds dealer today and ask them about Power Core Enlist Corn from Merschman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Pleased to always have this guy join us. You'll see him momentarily on the screen. Jess Settles, former Hawkeye basketball playing great, Iowa farmer, and broadcaster for the Big Ten Networks, Fox Networks, and ESPN. Jess, of course, kind enough to join us throughout the 6-year run on statewide television. But before we get back to talking basketball, Hawkeye basketball, I wanted to mention, it kind of blew Jess away when I said this to him, because we get caught up in events. As we record this on Wednesday afternoon, March 25th, this weekend, the 27th, 28th, and 29th, the Hawkeyes play the number one ranked UCLA Bruins, who are coming into town to Duane Banks Field on the University of Iowa campus to play the Hawkeye baseball team and Rick Heller ball. So good luck to the Hawkeye baseball team, Hawkeye softball team doing great guns. Hawkeye women's wrestling team just completed another national championship run this year, fell a little bit short. They finished second overall. Hawkeye women's wrestling did. Hawkeye men just finished fourth overall as a team, which was kind of a step up from the tough year they had regular season. They had a nice postseason, so they finished fourth nationally. Hawkeye gymnastics going to regionals. Spring football starts today on March 25th. A month from now will be the open practice game on April 25th. So we'll be talking Hawkeye football for the next month, too. So, Jess, if we didn't get caught up in March Madness, I had to remind you of a few other large events coming up and many other things going on in Hawkeye athletics, and you said it well many times, and I'll let you say it. Please say it again. It's certainly great to be a Hawkeye, but not today, Jess, but every day, right?
It's great to be a Hawkeye. We are so fortunate, right? We're the pro team in the state, so we just we get all the attention. It's the dream that most of us have as kids, and if you get lucky and happen to be 6'10" and decent hands and can run, you get your shot at it, right? But at least you can cheer for it if you don't get that scholarship.
You're way too humble. Let's say this. You came out of high school as the player of the year, obviously, from Winfield, Mount Union, down by Mount Pleasant. Iowa's very own Jess Settles. And I'll tell you this, Jess, when we go back to your memories of 99 and being part of that last Sweet 16 team at Iowa with Dr. Tom Davis, the swan song, you knew as the year was going on, it was going to be his last game whenever you lost in March Madness. If you even made it as the season, as you remember, was winding down, you guys kind of slid in there, but then beat UAB, beat Arkansas, and then lost to the eventual national champion UConn in 1999. But again, Kent McCausland will join us next week because he's your teammate, but also he, like you, has talked to me the last 6 years about memories of being a part of that previously last Hawkeye team to make it to at least the Sweet 16 team. We've also had J.R. Koch on this show in the past, and Ryan Lursman, your teammates from that team. Jess, I'm going to give you the platform. Talk to me about that year, but also that experience as you're shaking your head. I love watching your eyes and your expression as you're off camera, just kind of recall those years and those experiences. Step up and fire away whenever ready, please, my friend.
I mean, it's just been a fascinating short week so far, Dave, because I've been hit up by so many people with so many memories, and It's been crazy. I've said it on the air many times on many shows over the years, including this one, that the kids in the program, you don't understand how famous you become as a player and a team when you make it to the Sweet 16. The Sweet 16 week is just insane. It's wild. You think you had coverage before. I mean, I've probably been on 5, radio, TV, podcast already this week. I've got another one tomorrow, and I'm not even on the darn team. Think about what the kids this week are going through, let alone we didn't have social media. So they're getting just bombarded with all of this. A quick story before I get into that 99 season. I got a text from my Aunt Catherine, who teaches at Winfield Mount Union, a few days ago to show you how massive Sweet 16 week is and how proud Hawkeye fans are of this team and when they make it. And we obviously went through it with the women's team the last few years too, but the financial advisor for the IPERS program came and met with them, and he started out his speech to the staff at Winfield Mount Union, and he said something, I'm paraphrasing, he said something to the effect of, I know this is where Jess Settles is from, and I want to remind all of you that he was on the last Sweet 16 team, so I want you to know up front where my loyalties lie today. And so, they gave him an applause, is what she said, and everybody around the state is pumped. So all the memories that come flooding back. If you remember, I was injured. I was on one of the original 6th-year red shirts. I thought there was a 75 to 80% chance that I was done. The paperwork that we had to fill out to even have an opportunity to request the 6th year was crazy back then. I was declared eligible before the first preseason game. I didn't even go through the preseason practices. So here I show up. Sam Okie transfers in, the former McDonald's All-American out of Wisconsin. He can't play the first semester. Sadly, breaks his wrist 7 games into his career after the second semester. Dean Oliver is going through some really heavy personal family issues, so it was really tough on him. And then here's Dr. Tom Davis, who all of your listeners who are our age, admire him for his class and professionalism. But he told me sincerely after the season that he was close to not coaching that year because of all the drama, because he's a lame duck, and he was not built, number one, for that type of attention. Obviously, he didn't agree with the situation, and he just didn't want to go from arena to arena, being honored and being asked that question. But he said that he just felt like he would let us down, everybody who came back, that core group, all the guys you mentioned, Louie and Kit and JR. And so he comes back, and then we get that massive win at Kansas, that upset. We're down big in the second. They've got, I'm guessing, an 85-game home winning streak. Louie and Kent catch fire, and we win the darn game. We had no business winning that game, and that really kind of changed the psychology of the season for us. That made it so even the rest of the country is like, what's going on? These guys are inspired. We do the hokey pokey in the locker room at Lawrence, Kansas, right? And then things get so nuts that the next day at practice, Coach Davis celebrating those big wins. We kind of had just a light practice and buys us all cake and ice cream, and we just celebrate. And here comes Hayden Fry down the tunnel at Carver, right? This is Hayden Fry. Like, we love Hayden, but he's still like John Wayne to us, And here he comes walking down the tunnel, and he comes out and he's like, guys, I'm very happy with the win, but I'm disappointed in the form on the hokey pokey. Can I please just show you the right way to do it? So here we are in Carver Hawkeye in the circle with Hayden Fry doing the hokey pokey. So, the season kind of went like that. We had our ups and downs. The life on the road was made. Jakes was a warrior. Joey Range, he's a walking bucket, right? Played 1 year at Iowa. I mean, we didn't even run plays for that cat, and he just would score. Dean found it. Louie, who are we leaving out? I mean, just over and over, guys stepped up. We're down big at Arkansas on the road. In Denver, John Elway was at the game, and we come back and win that game. And I could go on and on. Just a few more nuggets. The coaches cleaned out their lockers. The office was bare, empty before the tournament started. And we get back from that Arkansas game. There's nowhere to go. We just practiced one day, and we just hopped the plane and head to Phoenix. Got beat by a better team. I remember the finality of it, getting off the plane in Cedar Rapids. It was a warm day just like today. You have the banquet, and boom, Steve Alford's hired. And now here we are 27 years later, and these kids get to go through it. They're having the time of their lives, and I'm just so happy for all of them.
the time this show airs, the viewers will already know the result. But you and I both wishing the Hawkeyes the best of good fortune and luck playing Nebraska, winning that game, hopefully. And then you never know what can happen against either Illinois or Houston. So we're talking about a Final Four team upcoming, Jess. But the next two games, suffice to say, are huge for the Hawks. But cannot even begin to thank you enough for always being a friend of this show for the last 6 years we've been on the air, but also previous shows on radio. It's always great to talk to you. Folks, there he is, Jess Settles, former Hawkeye basketball playing great, and now I can say it officially, a member of the previously last Hawkeye men's basketball team that was Sweet 16 in 1999. Now this year's 2026 team is another team in the Sweet 16. Don't forget next week, upcoming Jess Settles teammate Kent McCausland will be joining us. So for Jess Settles, I'm Dave O'Hara. Jess, it's always great to see you. Thank you so much, my friend.
All right, thanks. Hello to everybody in Southeast Iowa. Appreciate it.
Truly my pleasure. For Jess Settles, I'm Dave O'Hara. For Hawkeye, and thanks also to our production partners at BettorEdge and BettorEdge.com, Greg Kajewski and James Stiles. I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeye. That's all from us. Thanks to all of you.